lady some years back, passed away in Egypt. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive him. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elevate his status. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make his grave a garden from the gardens of paradise. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. With the month of Ramadan inching forward ever so quickly, we often hear talks about reconnecting with the Quran. We hear lectures about how to fast properly. And oftentimes we ask ourselves, why is it the same script every year? We spoke about Quran last year. We spoke about fasting last year. While that is a legitimate sentiment, I think it's important that we remember how important repetition is in our day-to-day lives beyond things that are related to Islam as well. How many of us can recall the last time we're on a flight and before the plane takes off, the pilot announces, by the way, most of you have already flown before, there's no need to repeat all of the safety measures, so Bismillah, let's just carry on. They don't do that. Obviously, there's protocols, there's a need to do it because no matter how many times you hopped on a flight, it may be that you hear something and a exceptional circumstance happens, and there's a responsibility to be educated about those scenarios. In Islam, things are much more important than just the safety regulations about flight and what have you. So for the next few days, inshallah, before the month of Ramadan starts, it's important that we remind ourselves about some of the basic, important, key components of how to have a fruitful Ramadan. And I think it's important to remember that because of the nature of Ramadan last year, COVID restrictions and an unprecedented scenario, many of us may have not had that experience and we feel that absence. So this Ramadan is the time where we now think back and say, you know what, I'm going to derive the greatest amount of benefit I can, and I'm going to make up for the previous year. And it's not a fault of anyone, it's just how things were last year. This year, if possible, I'm going to up my game. And the one thing that we need to do to ensure we have an effective month of Ramadan is nothing better than planning. La aqla kat tadbir. As it's famously stated, the most rational person is who has a strategy. When something is done with a strategy, it is effectively executed. Without a strategy, no matter how good you are at doing something, you can fail. Subhanallah, sometimes there's a person who would ask me something on the spur of the moment, and because I didn't prepare for or plan for it, I don't know how to respond, even though I spend years talking about that topic. Other times I would prepare months in advance for something, it's the first time I'm researching, and it's easy to answer. So strategy is very important. So even before we talk about specifics, let's individually think about strategies of how this Ramadan will fare. I'll be the first one to admit, it caught me by surprise that there's only a few days left before Ramadan. We're talking about Ramadan, but if you think about it, literally it's next week. Hardly a week left, about a week or somewhat. The following week is just around the corner. Now, how much preparation have I done? Have I sat with my family and spoke, okay, this is going to be our game plan. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to be doing suhoor. This is how we're going to read. If we don't have a game plan, then we're going to be, behind. We're not going to be able to improve our game. So in summary, for this first point, for myself, let me tonight go back and have a mashwara with my family and discuss what are steps that we can take to make this a fruitful Ramadan. Basic steps. What time are we all waking up for suhoor? What time are we all going to sit down and read the Quran? Are we going to be reading ahadith together? What are we going to do at time of iftar? How are we going to plan tarawih? Instead of assuming things, predictability is the best way to move forward. So the first lesson for myself is, let's plan ahead as a family, individually, what's the best way to derive the greatest amount of benefit. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless one and all. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to witness the blessed month of Ramadan. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. There will be a short announcement, inshallah.